Economic development happens when money comes from outside a region into the region.
It's our job to serve people and to make their lives better.
I spend a lot of time in Garfield County, Enid in particular.
That's probably one of the hardest things, to get the good title.
Everyone deserves help.
And he's been very instrumental in trying to make this deal work out.
We're basically self-insuring 100% of the loss.
Now having a new measurement tool to make certain we're ready.
My old friend.
Some girls have even led adoption drives for local rescue agencies.
I want to try to focus on the things out of life that are positive.
City Connections begins right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Steve Kime with the City of Enid. Thank you for joining me today on City Connections. As we continue to provide the latest and greatest guests, we have a very special guest that's visiting the Enid Television Network studio today, Governor Mary Fallin. Governor, welcome to Enid. It's good to see you.
Yes.
And I was counting up the years the other day when I knew that you were coming to the studio, and I think it was early 90s when we first met, and I just can't believe
time ago.
It's a long time ago, but what has taken place since then? It's just amazing how fast this calendar goes.
Yeah, it's gone fast.
And you're probably thinking as governor, man, that was kind of a quick couple terms. Is that the case? Has it been a blur, or has it been, maybe it's been a long time?
It seems like there's been a lot of water under the bridge, actually.
A lot going on.
No, it's actually, I'm finishing up my 28th year in office. So I got elected when I was 35 years old as a young mother with two very small children, and ran for the state legislature and served 4 years, and lieutenant governors when you and I really got to become friends for 12 years, and then Congress, went away to D.C. for about 4 years and back as governor 8 years ago. So
it's amazing. And we'll talk a little bit more about your role in the past and then the future here in a little bit. But let's focus on the state of Oklahoma, the economy. Everybody's interested in the economy. How would you assess today the Oklahoma economy or the outlook?
Well, the economy is finally doing much better, and actually it's doing great. And I hear some people talking about how we have all these challenges in Oklahoma with our economy, but actually our economy is humming right now. If you look at all the different jobs that are coming in, certainly the energy sector has come back very strong, construction has come back, manufacturing's doing very well. And if you look at how it was when I came into office and was elected in 2010, our unemployment rate was 6.2%. Right now, statewide, it is 3.7%, very low unemployment. And financially, we're in a much better position than we have been over the last couple of years during the energy downturn, which started in 2014 and lasted a little bit longer than what most people anticipated, which was about 3 years, which really hurt our state budget over that time period. But we finally had climbed back out. If you look at the revenue reports from the Treasurer's Office, it says that we've had 10 months of steady growth. We've had not only new revenue that's been generated from business and income tax and sales tax, which has climbed. Many of the different revenue sources are up, but we've also seen just great growth in our businesses. We've had, over the last 8 years, we've had 508 new businesses that have expanded and grown just out of the Department of Commerce alone. And if you take what Commerce has done as far as bringing in jobs, what communities like Enid has done on their own, or other communities throughout the state, we've created somewhere around 200,000 new jobs over the last 8 years. So we're in a much better position. We finally were able to solve our budget crisis, put our state on a stable foundation financially, and now we're going to end up, probably by the end of this year, somewhere close to $500 million in savings.
I appreciate you sharing those numbers, because often we live in the now and we forget that unemployment was at 6% and now it's in the 3% category, and the number of jobs. I mean, we hear these reports from time to time that the ABC Corporation is moving to Oklahoma City or to the state, but sometimes we lose track when we don't keep track of all the different development that's going on economically. Along those lines, how key is diversity for our state? Yes, it's an oil and gas state and a lot of aerospace, and there's some of this tourism as well, but how important is diversity, you think, for us today as we move forward?
It's important for today. It's important going forward, very important. And we work very, very hard to diversify our economy, and we have done that. In fact, if you look at the 508 different business closings that we've had over the last 8 years, if you look at the diversity of the mixture of industry, you'll find that about 16% on a chart I think you have will show that it's in all kinds of food processing, paper mills, a lot of aircraft composite manufacturing, just different things, distribution systems that are in that. Energy and aerospace tied for number 2 as far as the number of wins of companies we've been bringing in over the last 8 years. And then agriculture is always so important. Distribution, once again, is very important. And then actually what's interesting is that our number of international companies coming to Oklahoma has doubled in the last 18 years. I think it's around 12 to 14% of our mix. I can't remember the exact number on the chart, but we're seeing a lot of international business that is coming to Oklahoma. So we're bringing in lots of different things. I was here in Enid today, and I was helping to be able to announce a new retrofit of your flour mill, the ADM flour mill, right, which is very important. I was here a couple of months ago for the Mybergens, and they celebrated a milestone with their company too. But we're seeing a lot of diversification economy, which helps us go through those ups and downs that we experience in the energy sector, which Enid's very familiar with, because we've had many of those during our lifetime as a state.
And Enid as a community is learning itself the importance of diversity, because it was really focused on oil and gas for the longest time. We know oil and gas will always continue, but as you said, it could be a roller coaster ride in that regard. Well, there's been a lot of talk over the last year plus about teachers, and okay, the teachers have received a pay raise. What is your view with the raise and the additional monies? How's this going to help? How do you think?
Well,
is it going to help in the classroom?
Absolutely. I've long advocated that we need to raise our teachers' salaries to be competitive, to retain teachers. I also advocated that we need to do reform in education to make sure that we have high standards, make sure we know how our schools are performing, that we have more degrees and certificates out of our career vocational schools and our colleges and universities, and that we hold people accountable basically to the outcomes that we expect in our education system. So over the last 3 years, I've advocated to give the teachers a pay raise, and we finally got it done this past year. But it was hard work to get it done, as you saw during the legislative session. But we have moved Oklahoma from 49th in the nation now to 29th in the nation, 29th being better, 49th being worse, and teacher pay raise. And if you take the cost of living and you calculate that into our standing as far as where we rank on teacher pay raise, we'd actually be about 12th in the nation, according to the NEA and some other national organizations that follow the rankings in education and teacher pay.
Well, we've talked, Governor, about jobs. We've talked about the economy and teachers. Let's go to a very serious subject. Won't you provide us a first-hand update on the remodel that's going on at the Capitol? We'll go to a totally different subject here. But I know folks who don't venture to the city and they haven't seen the remodel going on. They say, well, I want to know what's happening. So what's the latest?
Well, the Capitol turned 100 years old June 30th of last year, so it is officially 101 years old. It's a beautiful, historic, well-made building at the time when it was built. It was started in 1914, finished in 1917. At that time, it cost $1.5 million for the whole thing. And at that time, we went through a big-time recession, depression, whatever you want to call it at that time. And we didn't have the money to finish the architectural plan of the Capitol, which was to have a dome. If you recall that for many, many decades up until the early 2000s, we didn't even have a dome on the Capitol. And then we finally were able to raise private money, a small amount of bond issue money under the Keating administration to put the dome on the Capitol. But no major renovation had ever been done of the Capitol to fix the electrical systems, the plumbing systems, the sewer systems. And the Capitol certainly didn't have internet and cable TV and all the different things that's there now. And in fact, it didn't have central air conditioning in the rotunda, which is a central part of the Capitol. Had corridors that would allow wind back during those days to flow through the Capitol. So it had facade that was crumbling on the outside, the mortar in between, the granite on the outside. And it was deteriorating. It had windows that leaked, had flooding in the basement, had sewer that would back up in the basement. In fact, there was an article, I still have it, when I was a newly elected legislator in the early 1990s, the article says Representative Fallin says the Capitol stinks, and it did. There was sewage in the basement. So when I became governor, one of my top goals was to get a bond issue to fix the Capitol, because it's the seat of our government. It's where many of our elected officials are and agencies are. It is a place where our school children come to learn about the state of Oklahoma and how government works. And we have a lot of visitors. We have international guests. People from other states come, and it's just important that we take care of a great asset. So, proud thing is we passed 2 different bond issues during my time. The interior work and the exterior work has begun, and it's about halfway there. The exterior will be done in 2020, and the interior will be finished in 2022. And it's a place that we can all be proud of, and it's important to be able to preserve it for the important work that it does.
Well, it's just amazing that it's a 101-year-old building, but it's always an impressive, and the steps and just the fortress-looking building it is. And you know, as an Oklahoman, I'm always just impressed with the artwork
Beautiful
that's inside.
artwork.
It's just gorgeous.
It's like a
Makes you
living
proud,
museum.
you know, as a state citizen, that this is our capital and this represents our heritage, and it's really nice. Well, thank you for that update, and I encourage people to visit the Capitol and take a look at the recent updates. Again, what a massive undertaking. Well, back to a serious subject. Depending on where you read the news, sometimes you'll see that Oklahoma rates not #1 in football anymore, but #1 in incarceration for men and women in state. So
That is true.
What are we doing to address that? It's not really kind of a Chamber of Commerce topic at all. So
well, it's not something that I've ever been proud of.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, we were ranked #1 in incarceration of women clear back when I was lieutenant governor, and we were ranked #2 in the nation, sometimes #3 in men. But now we are ranked both #1 in women and men incarcerated, because other states have done reform in criminal justice, and we have been doing that. In fact, Oklahoma is actually now considered to be one of the leading states in the nation on criminal justice reform. I just went up to New York a couple of weeks ago and spoke at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and it basically has law enforcement, district attorney type candidates. Anyone that's interested in criminal justice goes through that specialized national school in New York City, and I was one of their keynote speakers on Oklahoma's criminal justice reform efforts. But over the last 3 to 4 years, we've actually passed 17 different reform bills for criminal justice to do things like look at the real issue, why someone ends up in the criminal justice system. Do they have a substance abuse issue? Is it prescription drugs? Is it something like meth or heroin? Do they have a mental health problem? Is it someone that may be a veteran that's suffering with PTSD and just needs some extra help? Or are they truly a hardened criminal that needs to be locked up to keep the community safe? And that's, of course, our #1 goal, is to keep the public safe. But I think, Steve, you and I probably all know someone we went to high school with, maybe a colleague, maybe a relative that might have some addiction issue of some sort. And they're not a bad person, you're not scared of them, but they're just messed up at that time. How can we keep that person from going into the prison system? How can we get them the mental health substance abuse treatment that they need early on, so that their families aren't split apart, so their children don't end up in state custody and Department of Human Services, or they end up in poverty, or kids have trouble in school if a parent's incarcerated. So we've done some great work. There were 2 state questions that the public supported, dealing with classifications of misdemeanors and felonies. And I think we're on a better path to reduce the number of people that can be diverted from going to prison by getting them the help up front, and then what's called a needs and risk assessment to really see what's going on in that person's life. Are they a criminal that we need to be afraid of and locked up, or is it someone that we can help along the way so they don't end up in the system itself?
You know, it's a conversation that you're not too thrilled about talking about incarceration, but it's reality. It's something that the state needs to address and that the individuals need to address. And I'm just reminded of the old adage, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So if there was an easy solution to all the problems that states face, everybody would be doing it. Well, on a lighter subject, let's talk about the accomplishments. As you look back over your tenure as governor, what comes to mind if you want to play the word association game real quick? When you say accomplishment, what comes to mind with Governor Fallin?
Well, I mean, the one thing I'm very proud of is that we were finally able to move us from 49th to 29th in teacher pay, be able to raise the general funding of education overall, which is very great. You know, when I came into office, and especially when I was in Congress, we were one of the top 5 states in the nation in bad bridges, structurally deficient bridges. I made that one of my top goals, to be able to fix our bridges in Oklahoma, to be able to put more money towards that, to have a plan of action to actually do that and prioritize the bridges in the different counties. So we've gone from having over 700 and some odd structurally deficient bridges to now somewhere close to 150 structurally deficient bridges. I think it's been 169. And we've reduced our structurally deficient bridges by 80%. Even our counties, which are paid for by county money with a little bit of state match, has been cut 40% in their structurally deficient bridges. One of the top issues I've heard many businesses say was an impediment to growth in their business was the high cost of workers' compensation premiums. We have, over the years, worked to transform an adversarial court-based system to an administrative system in general, to where we can mediate more of those claims for someone that's been injured on the job, and take some of the attorneys, frankly, out of the system. And I say that because my husband's an attorney, so to take them out of the system. But we reduced our workers' compensation premium costs by 64% in our state, which means that the business is able to hopefully hire more people. It means that we're able to help the injured workers when they get injured in a timely fashion, so they get back to work and take care of them. Another top issue that has been challenging for our state, we went through a period where we had a lot of frivolous lawsuits being filed in Oklahoma. We did major lawsuit reform, and we were able to take us from being 42nd worst in the nation to 31st better in the nation as far as frivolous lawsuits or tort reform in the state of Oklahoma. And our pension systems. We had a lot of unfunded liability in our various pension systems in the state, and that really drags the state down, especially when bond ratings, like when the city's trying to borrow money for infrastructure, you pay higher rates if you have a bad rating.
Right.
And actually Oklahoma experienced a decrease in our rating because of our economy, but we did a bunch of pension reform, and we reduced our unfunded liability from $18 billion down to a little over $8 billion, and we now have the percentages right as far as debt to ratio for retirement of our retirees in all of our pension systems, which would be our teachers and our firefighters, our state employees, police, those types of things that are in the pension systems themselves. So it was a good thing to be able to lower our debt. We're one of the lowest debt burden states in the nation right now. So those are some of the things that we've worked on doing. As I mentioned, the unemployment was pretty high. We went through many years, starting in 2014, of a lot of budget downturns because of the price of oil going from $107 a barrel down to $26. And of course, you know that feels in Enid, but it really hurt our revenue streams. And I got a great chart that shows we climbed up out of the slump we were in 2011 when I came up to office. But by 2014, we were leveled off and we were growing. But then 2014 is when the energy bust happened and lasted just up until this past year. And we've slowly grown out of that now to where we have $500 million in savings and in our rainy day account and low unemployment. But it took a while to get there. And so Oklahoma's in a much better position, lots of diversification in the economy, and better time for people.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that long list of accomplishments. There's one thing that you overlooked, and I want to share this on a personal note. You were always supportive of Special Olympics Oklahoma.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the projects that I was involved in. And so that was another accomplishment about that you had during your tenure as governor, is about giving back to the community and giving back just by your presence in nonprofits. It meant a great deal to many organizations,
you did especially a lot of great work on that yourself,
especially with Special Olympics. I have not run across the state of Oklahoma since then. I've only did it the one time.
Well, you will never see me run across the state of Oklahoma, but you did a great job.
Let's talk a little bit on the political side of things. I saw, Governor, the other day there was an article about voter registration is up. What do you think is going on? Not that there's some looking in the crystal ball, you can know these things, but I thought that was an interesting article. Voter
Well, I'm happy
registration
voter
is up.
registration's up, and I'm happy that more people want to get involved in their government and selecting who represents them. Being able to vote and select someone to represent you is a privilege that we have, but we have to protect that privilege by exercising it and getting out and voting and staying informed as a populace in a state of the issues. So I think you find with social media, not that it's accurate most of the time, but you see a lot of people sharing their ideas, their thoughts. You see a lot of things on TV. There's so many different cable networks that you can watch of all kinds of information. Some report on news, some don't. And I think you see a more of an interest in what's going on. And then I will tell you this, Steve, one of the things I find discouraging right now in America, and even sometimes here in Oklahoma, is how incivil we are to others, how we treat other people in our nation. And I hope that some of the engagement of people registering to vote is people who are saying, we got to get informed so we know what's true, what's not true, and hopefully be able to talk about the positive things going on in our nation versus some of the things that we hear right now.
Governor Fallin, we've had the privilege of having a variety of other governors, former governors, come to the Enid Television Network studios and talked about their life before being governor, during, and then also after. So when you reflect, go all the way back from Tecumseh High School all the way to governor of the state of Oklahoma, you have accomplished a significant. You've really led the way in a lot of categories. So what is next? I mean, it seems like you've kind of done it all, been to D.C. and you're back. So what would be next for
Well, I have
Governor
a new job
Fallin?
already.
Okay.
I just acquired it about 2 months ago, and it's the title of Grandma.
Okay.
So I have.
Well, congratulations, Grandma.
Yeah, first time. Took a while, but I have a new 2-month-old grandson.
Well,
It's the love of my life and
congratulations. That's
lots
great.
of fun. And my daughter's a wonderful mother, and of course my husband and I have 6 children between us. He has 1 grandson too. So it's been a fun time in our life. We're looking forward to whatever the next chapter holds for the 2 of us, and we're going to take a vacation. First of all, when we get out of office January 14th, hopefully be able to unpack the house, and we got to move.
Right.
All those different things that you do, but it has been a wonderful 28 years of public service, and I'm just grateful that I had the opportunity to be able to do it.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the grandma news here on the Enid Television Network. That's pretty exciting. Well, Governor, I appreciate your time today. I know this is probably one stop of many today, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk to the folks here in Enid and Northwest Oklahoma. We'll have you look at that camera in just a moment.
Sure.
But this is just an opportunity for you just to speak from your heart, say whatever you want, take as much time as you need.
Well, great. Well, I appreciate your show. Thank you, Steve,
You're
and thank you
welcome.
to the city of Enid. I've always enjoyed my many years coming up here where there's been various business announcements to Rotary speeches, to being able to talk about education, doing workforce summits here, whatever the issue might be, to even talking about oil and gas. It's a great community, a great place to live, and you have so many citizens that engage in volunteering their time, very generous, and care about the quality of life that you have here in Enid. And it has just been a wonderful joy and opportunity for my family and certainly for myself to be able to serve the state of Oklahoma. It's an opportunity that not everyone's given, and it is one that we will always cherish and remember in our lifetime, the wonderful friends and people that we met throughout the state. And of course, one of my top goals has always been to help Oklahoma be the best place to live, work, invest, and to be able to raise a family. And it's been a great opportunity to be able to work on those things. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to serve you.
Governor Fallin, thank you very much. You came all the way from Oklahoma City to Enid, Oklahoma, so we're going to give you a little gift. Governor, Enid turned 125 years old 2 or 3 weeks ago, and so we have a commemorative coin that we give dignitaries and special folks, and you fit into that category. On the other side, it lists that Enid 1893 to 2018, 125 years, but that's our commemorative coin to celebrate our birthday, and we want you to take that back to the Capitol. Well, thank you. We had a big birthday party a few weeks ago, but we thought we'd give that to you so you could have at your desk to remember us here in Enid.
Well, I will never forget.
Okay. Governor, again, thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us on City Connections today. I hope you enjoyed my visit with Governor Mary Fallin. And I'm sure that she would welcome your opportunity in a couple months remaining of her term for you to touch base and send your best regards to her as well. And so, again, from the Enid Television Network studios, thank you for watching today. We sincerely appreciate the opportunity to come into your home and share what's going on in our great state and also in our great city of Enid, Oklahoma. Until next time, this is Steve Kime. Make it a great day. Thanks, everyone.